Hello, everyone. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. How is everyone today? It's Cheryl from Tinker's Cart Art, and I am popping in this morning live with you guys on my Tinker's Cart Art page, but this is also my Craft Round the Clock segment this morning. So I'm pretty excited to be back. I've missed you guys. I've been not online live lately, so it's good to see you. Good morning. Hey, Andrea. Thanks for watching. So I thought we would someone suggested a previous live to do a demo on painting waves. So I'm going to do that for you this morning in acrylics. So I'm so happy that you're here. I haven't been, like I said, I was a week in the Smoky Mountains in North Carolina painting with the plein air convention. So it was 1,000 of us out in the Smoky Mountains painting. It was fabulous. Last day, we spent the whole day painting at the Biltmore Mansion, which was really cool. So I had that. And then as soon as I got back from that, I was to get on the road and come from my from my Florida home to Maine for the summer, but came back with COVID. And so it delayed my trip. Hi, Tracy. Good morning. Thanks for sharing me in. And so that I had to cancel a few lives and then do the drive up here, and I feel like I'm still in that kind of foggy brain space. So I'm going a little slow, but I'm excited to be back, and I've missed you guys. And I'm in my main camper now, so this is my porch. I should have looked behind me before to see if it looks neat enough. But anyways, I'm coming to you from Wells Beach, Maine. And so we're going to paint some Maine things. I've been in Florida for the winter, and you've seen me painting all the pinks and the teals and the spoonbills and the flamingos and the alligators, and I had a blast painting some of those trees. Thank you, Pam. I'm getting there. I just seem to be like relapsing a little, just being real tired. But that's it, and I can't complain. It's fine. I'm still able to be here and paint with you guys, so that's good. I'm just kind of a little slower. Hi, Sally. Good morning. And so I did have a suggestion for painting waves before, so I thought I would tackle that because here I am in, I can see the marsh and the ocean from here. I can't walk there, but I can see it. So that's kind of cool. So I'm going to be doing some more Maine, New England kind of scenes. I want your input. So please say hello. You are when you get here. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me what you might want to see painted. I would love to know. I love taking suggestions, and we will I'm doing some little miniatures now too. So I'm going to demo this painting for you today, waves. Everybody thinks waves are hard. They're pretty easy. You just kind of simplify them and don't think about them so much. Same sort of thing with rocks. Sometimes like, oh, rocks are too hard, but just simplify them into simple shapes with lights and darks, and you can do it. Good morning, Donna. Thank you guys so much for being here. I just watched Patsy Ray, and I loved her flower, her arrangement. That was really gorgeous. And Patsy Ray, that was so fun to watch. Thank you. That was great. If you guys aren't sure, if you're my Tinker's Cart Art peeps, Craft Round the Clock, I'm also coming to you in a segment there today, and that's a great place. And the link is in my description. It is live crafting every 45 minutes all day. So you would go from painting to the floral design to all kinds of crafting. I myself love it. I love to craft. I love to do all sorts of creative things, not just painting. But painting is my jam, and that's what I do. And I love to teach you how to paint too. So, good morning. So let's jump in. I actually show you, I was just this morning before coming on, I was painting some of the little miniatures with waves. Good morning, Lisa. Cindy, good morning. And I love these little canvases. You can get them at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Amazon, all the places. It's just a little 3x3 inch, and you can buy little easels. And they're a fun little painting. So if you want to get started and don't want to commit to something really big, these little guys are so fun. They make great gifts. I'm in the middle of one with a lighthouse. I'll finish those up. So those are what I was working on, preparing to come on with you guys. Very simple. Acrylic paints. You don't need a lot of colors. I mix a lot of my colors. I use different brands. Craft paints are fine, whatever you have. I do like Liquitex fluids. I use a little bit of Deco Art. I actually have been using some floating medium, some folk art floating medium. Thank you, Donna Dewberry, because this is great for letting your paints, be able to float with them or mix them or just give me a little time before it dries. I really enjoy that. And just some basic brushes, nothing fancy. I'm only a few colors out this morning, so it's just my acrylics. Like I said, I've got a phthalo blue, phthalo green, white, Payne's gray. I'm not a big fan of black, so I usually substitute Payne's gray. I've got some yellow, and that's all we need for this painting. I'm going to put my sample right here and let's just get started. So I'm just using hey, Philip Gray. Hello, my friend. Philip's an amazing painter, and you talk about plein air. He takes it to the extreme, Philip. You're painting with the underwater and skydiving. And so watch this guy and follow him. He's amazing. So I've just got a little 8x10 canvas, stretch canvas here today. I've sketched on a few lines. It's nothing that you need a lot with waves. They're pretty free form, so you can kind of go ahead and do your thing. I just put maybe a horizon line on here. I'm going to work top down just to make it easy. I'm not putting my hand in my paint, but I will sometimes take the paint and put it around on my canvas in different places. Hey, Shelby, how are you? Nice to see you. Thanks for popping in. And Janae, I miss you, girlfriend. One of my good painting friends in Florida that I've made. I have such a fabulous community there, and I'm so glad to see you here. And Denise, I better paint and stop yakking. I did get a message from someone saying, stop saying hello to everyone, just paint. So I like saying hello to you guys because you're like my family. So hello, and now I'll paint. Okay, so I'm going to work on the sky a little bit. I'm going right into my phthalo blue, into the white. I mix on my palette. I don't have to mix up little piles of color. I rather plop into all my colors, go through my painting. It makes it a little more cohesive if you're just kind of mixing some colors in, even when they don't belong. So I'm going into some of that blue and some white, and I'm just going to start putting it on to cover the canvas. I work a little fast because I want my colors to blend. I love oil painting, but I paint a lot in acrylics these days, so I try to make my paint act like oils. Thank you, Lois. I really appreciate that, letting people know that we're here doing our thing. Thank you so much. So I'm going to start in this corner, really, and work over. That way I can blend clouds in as I go, having it all blend. When I get over here, I'm done. If I started over here and then skipped over here and met in the middle, I would have a line. I want to add a little Payne's Gray in my sky here. I don't want it to be too perfectly bright blue. I want to have a little bit of clouds with a little gray. You know, you see the gray purple sometimes in them. So I'm going to put a little just Payne's Gray, and you can see how it mixes with this blue as I go. So it's a nice soft transition. It's not like a big harsh line because I'm working fast and I'm letting the paint blend. I can go into just white sometimes if I want to get a little lighter. I can go into just blue. Because it's wet, I can mix it around. I'm going to go quickly so I can get some of my white clouds in there while the blue is still a little tacky. And then it will be a soft cloud, not like I painted the cloud on top and it was pasted on. So I'm going across with just shades of blue, throwing in a little gray here and there sometimes, and just going across my horizon line. Sometimes I dry my brush off. Oops, and this is my brush that falls apart. I'm going to buy brushes later on today. So I'm going to take just white sometimes. And while that's damp, I could throw in a little white that's barely there, but it kind of will be a cloud later. It will give me a little placeholder for a cloud. Just really soft. So you can see I'm going into my palette and just grabbing colors. I'm not worrying about mixing a perfect shade of blue that I want for my sky, because sometimes it just changes. I'll be looking at the sky and painting what I see, but it changes. Or if I say, oh, I like a little purple in there. I want to put a little gold in the cloud. Even if I don't see it, I sometimes do it just because I gotta glue my brush. Just because on a whim, it's what I want to do. Or sometimes I know that, oh, I painted that little purple in the cloud before. I'm going to try that again. It really worked out well. So, hi, Charlotte, my friend. I'll see you today and maybe this afternoon. I will show you guys when I'm letting something dry what we're working on in my art memberships. We are going together live by Zoom later on today to paint a fun little painting. Kind of one I painted with you guys, but it will go into detail more. It was the metallic gold tree of life on the black background. We're doing that today together in my group. And when we have a live Zoom like that in the membership, we just kind of hang out, we ask questions, we share our work, and we learn something. It's a really fun, cool, creative environment. So there's sort of my base coat. You can see I've got some darker blue, some light, a little gray. What I want to do is wipe my brush off. I don't want to go into the water. I don't need to really clean it well right now, but I want to get a little excess blue off. So you will see me with a paper towel in my hand a lot of times there. And now I'll go back into my white, and I'm just going to lightly get an idea where I want my clouds. It's blending with that blue, which is fine. If I pick up too much blue, just wipe off my brush again. So if anybody that's new today, say hello. I'd love to see who's new watching today. we have a 45-minute segment here. Sometimes it's a little bit of a race to the finish. But this is going to be a straightforward demo. Sometimes the less you make of it and the more fun you have with it and the less you think about it, the better off you are. You just get something fun and loose. That's why I like plein air painting a lot, because I'm outdoors and there is a time limit before the light changes and whatnot. And it's great for trying to speed up your painting process, not think too much about it, and just kind of look at what you see, look at lights and darks, put it down quickly on your canvas and step away from it. And you'll be surprised sometimes how you get the impression of the place so easily. Oh, Donna, welcome. And Patricia, welcome. Thank you guys so much. I've got links. If you're not on Craft Round the Clock, there's a link to the page in my description. There's also a link to my private community off social media that I have a free community on, which is kind of nice if you would like to click there. I'm going to go into my water now. Got dirty blue on my brush anyway. So I'm going to go right into the water. I'm going to come back when that's a little drier and get a little bit of highlights on my clouds. You can see, actually I used a different blue on this painting. It was probably ultramarine, but it's the same idea. A little more blue after on my clouds. I mean white, excuse me, to just brighten them up a little bit. So the water. Now here's where I love my phthalo blue and green, because I can get that beautiful, beautiful ocean watercolor. I get this beautiful New England watercolor mixing them. I've got that deep blue. Add a little white to this. You get a really, or even a little yellow and white, you get that really nice Caribbean water. So you can use these two colors and get so many great colors. So I'm going to go in with that beautiful dark blue-green, the water that we have here in Maine. And I'm going to just get a little dark bit of water behind the wave. So how to get things to pop. So that wave really pops in this painting. And you know why sometimes you'll see something, even if it's a sight that you see and not really a painting, it's just striking to you. You've got to put some darks and have some lights pop. So if you have a light and surround it by dark, it pops. If you have some colors that you've dulled down around and then have a bright color, it pops. So it's a little bit of design work as well as looking at what you see. And sometimes you can embellish what you see by saying, gee, if I make it really dark around that flower and put that bright pink flower in, boy, it pops. It's because you have some dark. So I'm putting this dark here. I'm telling you that because I'm putting some dark here so that this wave, this my center of interest here, is going to really pop out at you. So this back bit here is going to be fairly dark. I can even take a tiny bit of Payne's Gray into that blue if I really want to get it dark. When I do water, I use strokes back and forth. In my sky, I meant to mention I kind of use little cross hatches sometimes. Cindy, I'm using, you know what? I'm using acrylic. I'm using the Treasure Gold for the tree. You can use regular acrylics for the little gemstone pieces, but if you have gouache, it covers real nice. If it's acrylic, we'll just put a few coats. So you can come with whatever you want. The canvas is just painted black. You can even buy canvases that are black. These little ones I was just showing you also come in black. But if you have a white canvas, just paint it black acrylic. Gouache, it would use too much, and I would stick with the acrylic for your background. And the tree will do in the gold, metallic, whatever kind you have. So I look forward to seeing you later. Hey, Lisa, my neighbor. I hope you're painting along. I had to get you some canvas and things, and you could be over there painting along, too. Oh, Janae, I'll talk to you soon. I miss you. Okay, so I'm going back and forth with just the blue-green. And I see Gail there. Hi, Gail. I sometimes will take a little white and streak it in. I don't want it too busy back here because this is my focal point, all of that business on the wave that's coming forward. But back here, I just want to make it a little interesting. So I could just go through with some white. Sometimes I'll just, using the same big brush, take a tiny bit just on the corner of the brush and just kind of drag that through. And that gives me some little lines that sort of look like they could be little waves breaking back there. I can soften them in. I didn't want to make them in one big solid line across. I just want a few here and there. And that just gives me a little something. I can always take the same little bit of white on my brush like I did and sort of wiggle it a little bit. And it's almost like a little bigger wave breaking than the background ones. I want a little green in there. I've got very blue. I'm going to take a little yellow right on my brush. I can brush some green in there. You're going to see later how I use green under the wave when it turns. And you see that at the beach when you're looking at waves and the turning and the sunlight's coming through. You get that cool, beautiful, limey green color, which is nice. So I sometimes put it right in back here too. This is all still pretty wet, so I can kind of get it to blend a bit. It's not a harsh line. And that's really all we're going to do back there. You could go and do, little lighter areas here and there if you want to, but that's enough. I'm going to rinse my brush now because I do want to put a little more white on my clouds, but I don't want to use that blue brush. Diane. Oh, I'm from Massachusetts too. I told you my brain's still foggy. We sold our place in Clinton, Mass. last year and decided to move to Florida for the winters, which is fabulous because my family, a lot of them are there, and it's nice to be near everyone for the holidays. I'm going to see the rest of your thing here. And I love Arizona. When I got out there, I absolutely adore Arizona. I love the artsy community. I love the weather. I love the cactus. But family's in Florida, so that's where we are now in the winter. And it worked out wonderfully, and it's wonderful to be back in Maine now, too. All right, so I'm going to just go and get a little bit of white on my brush. I don't want to take a brush load of white and go on the canvas. It would be a big blob. I want to go very lightly. So you'll see me a lot of times going very lightly. Sometimes you won't even notice it, and it's too light. But I'd rather start light and then work heavier. So I'm going to take a little bit of that white now and just go onto the tips of my clouds, and you can just see how it just almost really blends. This is a little tacky still, but mostly dry. A little bit of my brush, and I'm just dragging it over. Hey, hello, Willow. Willow's out of school, I think, now, so nice to see you. I know she likes to watch me paint, but she likes to paint too, and I love that, so maybe we'll see her twice today. So a little bit of white. I'm not trying to make a big white blob like it's pasted on. So that's why I leave the bottom of my clouds a lot of times almost fading off into the background. I'm not going to do a harsh bottom. I can sometimes put a little stroke, but I want those lost and found edges on that. I don't want to have it like it's outlined. So I'm using a very light stroke, just almost dabbing some little bits of clouds here and there. I'm just kind of, using little roundy strokes or little crisscrossy strokes. Same here. And sometimes it could be really just light and in the background. When I want to get a little gold in my cloud, like I sometimes do, like a little sunshine in there, I wait till it's very dry and done, a little bit of white on my brush and some yellow, and just very lightly brush it in. I wouldn't dare go now with any yellow because then I'll end up with green. And, green is not a bad thing in the sky sometimes. A stormy sky with a little green is cool, but I don't want it in my clouds. So, oh, Mary, I have friends down on the Jersey Shore, and I love it. You guys have so cool waves. It's amazing. They're huge. So that's about it for the sky. You could go more with a little purple on the base of your clouds. I've got a little of that gray in there. And once it's dry, I would go maybe and hit it with a few bits of white, but we're going to do that after because right now it's still blending. All right, so the wave, we've got a big wave coming at us, turning over. And if I'm doing just even a simple wave, a little wave, I have a little process where I go under the wave with some of that green color. And then right underneath where it's breaking where that little bit of white is coming over, I go with some darker, like a blue there as a shadow. It's a little bit of a formula, but it really does work. And then you can vary it to waves that you see or reference photos and things. But that's how I kind of start. Thank you, Teresa, for sprinkling. Hi, Wanda and Mary. I get a little bit of that lovely green color. And how I get that is very simple. It's just these same colors. I've got my blue and green here, but I've got my green, go into some white, yellow. I told you it's my brain. Honestly, you guys, I canceled my last live, you guys, because I thought it was Monday when it was Tuesday. I thought it was Tuesday, and I couldn't make it for the Wednesday morning, but it was really Monday, so I could have. So honestly, I'm trying to work with the fog in my brain. So yellow, and then I add a little white, because I want it a little lighter. I don't want it to be as dark. I want a little white in there, so you can see that color. And underneath here is where I kind of want that color. But I'm going to put it over here too. We have that nice dark blue, and so it will really contrast nice with this. Like I said, sometimes I'll throw a little of that folk art medium in, that blending medium, and it sort of extends my paint a little bit and lets me blend. And I'm doing this fairly quick because I want to get my blue and darks in here and blend it again while that's wet. So it is a little speedier way to paint, and I apologize sometimes that I'm going fast. But remember, the recordings for this is always up. So if you come in late, you have to leave early, you don't make it, look for the recording. Oh, hang on, Pam. Let me see. I have my new setup here, so I know it's probably a little, is that better? That's probably better? Let me know if that's better. So I'm going to go right into my blues now. Go under where this wave is going to turn. So see, I'm just getting that little shadow in there. And I want to blend that before it dries because I don't want it to be a little outline. So here's where I just use my dry brush, just dry it off. And because both sides are wet, I could just scumble that and blend it. And I'm going to have it a little darker down here, maybe even a little more blue-green down here. So, you know, when I said you could take these colors and add some white, you can get more of a turquoisey blue-green. I'm going to go in that down here because I just like the way that blends with that green. So you have a bit of time to blend, but you can't dilly-dally too much. Oh, good. Thank you, Pam. Please, you guys, if you ever have trouble hearing me or seeing things, I'm always looking for the best way to position the camera and everything. And I'm just scumbling. You can even hear it probably, scumbling those colors together. While it's wet, I might want to just take some white, and I'm just dabbing it and almost blending it at once. Just so it's not this big mass of this same light color, I just dabble in some, like how I make up words as I go, dabble in little bits of white, and it just gives it a little bit of depth, I think. I think I even had purple in mine, original one over here, but let's just go with this. So same here, we want to get a little blue in there to blend before it dries. So there'll be a little shadow from the white froth here behind, so we're going to do our little bit of dark there. Wipe it off so we get a dry brush and soften that. This is going to have this direction. This wave is turning that way, so I can always take a little white now across the top. Got dark here and white across the top as a highlight, sort of. I just dragged it in there with my brush, and I'm going to soften that. But I'm going to bring it down like this, almost like waterfallish, because that's the direction of the wave. And now I'll take more. Like I said, I want to build it up little at a time. I can come back later and get it brighter white if I need to. But for now, there's that. And then I can even hear it. The white has dried. It's a little more subtle. I might put just a few little painterly. I like to work painterly so you do see brush strokes. Everything's not blended perfectly. So I am going back there. All right. And while we have these colors, let's just get the little bit of blue that's going to be on the under the wave, kind of coming towards shore. And it's going to be a little darker under here. I may take a tad of my Payne's Gray just to make that a little darker under there. And that's that. I don't need that to blend too much, but while I'm here, just soften it. Now it's dark there, so I'm going to get lighter so you can see that that's a shadow. Any kind of a blue-green here. That's a little too green. I just want to get some color there, a base coat down, a wet base, so I can drag some white through it. And I do need some more white here. So, oh, Pam, I'm sorry about that. You know what? I often do cloud demos, and if you go over to YouTube, I believe I have a demo just on painting clouds. And I will be more careful about where I put those. The camera on, you guys. Sorry. I feel bad. Last time I had that crazy issue with the audio, and I couldn't figure it out, and it was all along. It was so stupid. I had gotten some new earbuds, and I never really have used them much. So apparently, because they weren't in their case and they were in the studio, somehow you couldn't really hear my audio, or it was muffled. So I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? I hate leaving off camera while I've got you guys here. So I took them and I threw them inside the house and shut the door. And my husband's in there watching TV and coughing, and that's all you heard. So anyway, I know now not to have my earbuds out of the case nearby so you can hear me. And I can do another, if you like these little segments sort of on painting a subject, I could like tackle clouds one day, trees one day. I do that a lot with my group. Sometimes we'll just do painting strawberries, painting this particular flower. Again, put them in the comments. I do take notes. Or send me a message, even better. Joy. So pretty simple. I'm not going real crazy, but there's the front water there. And you know, as I say to you guys all the time, is there any way I can see it not upside down? I know, Cindy, it's really hard because now with the platform, I can't use my StreamYard to go live because they don't allow it into groups anymore. And before I could come to you with my little tiny face, but then my hands here, I could, but it's unfortunate. In my groups and all that, I can use StreamYard when I go YouTube or I go into my own private group. I can use StreamYard, but Facebook is not really playing well with StreamYard, and we aren't allowed to use third-party apps, which StreamYard is. So I am sorry. I try to do these as quick little demos, and I hope you can kind of get a little from it. I will try to think of some way to be able to get the camera. I could probably put it right here and then just turn it. I used to do this in the old days when I did lives. I'd have to like spin the camera around and do that. But it's hard because then I don't see what you're seeing. Like you'd have to tell me if something went out of screen. I'll try that next time though. I'll try that so I can put it right over me and turn it. Anyways. Oh, so I was saying something. Oh, so when you're painting and you think something's a little off, or maybe even if it's not, I sometimes will hold it up into a mirror or take a photo of it because it's somehow your eye's not seeing it or you're not as invested and you can see if there's a little something that's off. So when I hold this up in the video, it's kind of very telling because it's, to me, I'm like, there's really not enough yellow in here. So it's funny I don't see it here. I see a little yellow, but when you stand back from it even and observe from a distance, because again, nobody else is looking at this painting this close. If I have someone interested in this painting, they're looking at it from 4 or 5 feet away. So don't be criticizing yourself and worrying about it and thinking it's awful. You're looking at it too close. Step back, take a photo of it, that sort of thing. But I'm going to get a little more of that yellow in there, just for a little pop of color. And let's tackle the breaking of the wave. So I want some white to show up here, but if I just say, okay, the wave's breaking and it's all white at the top from the foam and the wave splashing and painted it all white, it would have no depth. So I need to start darker. So I'm going to go in and kind of give mostly a Payne's gray, a little bit of blue, and underpainting a little bit because I want my white to really show up when I go on top. So I may cover most of this, but at least I'm starting it. It got a little bluer than I expected, but I'm going to just go with it and just lighten it with some white. But this is just a little base coat. And this is just so that my white will pop. Remember what I said about having some dark around the light. So I'm going to go ahead. And there's waves come in all sorts of formations. This is just, I'm copying one I've done before for a demo. You could have just one big wave breaking here, and this is just calmer water. You can have multiple waves. I go to the beach now and I take massive amounts of wave pictures for reference, and everyone is completely different. But to practice painting them like this, then if you are out plein air painting and the waves break so fast and you don't have time to really copy each one, you have a basis of how do I paint a wave. I put the green underneath, I give a little shadow. I could go under here again. It looks like I've lost my shadow a little bit. You can always go back in. And if I just take even like a wet brush and a little bit of the dark again, and I feel like I've lost my shadow, I could just go in and almost like, it's just with a wet brush, but it's almost like a wash under there. And this is not something I would notice too much unless I really stood back. I want it to have a little bit, I don't want to have such a harsh line here, so I might go in and just kind of build that in a little bit softer. I wanted a little more of a shadow there where I had it behind the whites. That's going to be there. But I don't want it to be a perfect line either. I want to kind of go down and up, get it a little irregular. Everything in nature is a little off. It's never going to be a perfect line. This is just a wet brush with a little paint. It's almost like I said, a wash. It's a nice technique to use sometimes to shade and highlight. I think I need to get a little more of that Payne's gray. That's right. That's right. No two waves are the same, which is what makes it so fascinating, I think. Now, I do have a little purple in that original painting, I think. So I just grabbed some quinacridone magenta, and I could just get a little bit of a purple just for something fun just down here, too. I had a little bit of purple in there. So when I put a color somewhere, I like to throw it around different places. I could just do this. And I know this is going to turn up, and I want it darker along this edge. So while I'm just waiting for that Payne's Gray to dry, let me get, the Payne's Gray. I might get it a little bit darker along here. And I'm just laying that in. You can see I'm kind of using a little bit of a rough brush stroke, so it's not a perfect line. I'm sort of just dabbing it. And that's going to be a little shadow under there. And again, just wipe off your brush to use your brush just as a little tool to blend sometimes. And I have some little white splashes here, so I want it to be a little shadow there. So since I'm looking at where my shadows are, I'm going to vary them a little bit. I don't want, it's almost like they're almost, I made it a little wavy, but it's almost still too much of a line. I think I need to go down further here. I want it really to be different, not straight across. And I fall into that trap sometimes of lining things up perfectly and that sort of thing. So I'm trying to make it a little more varied. So on here, there's a little bit of a shadow on the water. And I'm going to dry this brush off now. Just wiping it on the paper towel, soften that a little bit. And we have 15 minutes left still, you guys. It's quick sessions, but it's kind of nice. I know I've gotten into the, when you're watching something online, you want it fast, fast, fast. So I try to do lessons that we could start and finish, and usually we do. So let me go ahead now. It's just a little bit damp, which is good because I could go in with some white now, and I don't want to go from this color to straight white. I want a lot of little shades of the grayish blue in between. So because I take just white on my brush, which is kind of a dirty brush, and this is a little bit wet still, I can get that nice like lighter blue-gray shade. I'm going to just build up until the very last thing is just dabbing on, which is the fun part, dabbing on those bright whites. Sometimes I'll take a toothbrush and spatter the wave, which I did on that, so we'll do this one. Sometimes I take a liner and make little lines, and sometimes I make little dots just because it's kind of a cool decorative look. So let's get in here while it's a little bit damp still and just get some middle tones. We've got that dark behind. We get some middle tones here. It doesn't have to be a perfect line. It's almost better if you kind of scrub it. It's barely got paint on there, and see if I scumble it on there. You've got that cool texture of the canvas, which is nice. So I'm not taking a lot of white. I'm taking a little bit, wiping most of it off, again, because I don't want to have too much, and I don't know till I go on what it will be like. So I can always go darker, but I can't always take it off. I mean, I can scrape it up with a wet paper towel, but this little bit popping up here is going to be irregular. So we want some bits coming up higher. And you can see that's a little brighter as the paint dries. And the direction is kind of like this, you guys, down here. It's kind of coming up this way. So I'm sort of just putting my brush, following the stroke, the direction that those little waves would be. I'm pulling in all those colors. It's kind of nice. I've got a little purple showing through there. And this is just a process now. In these last few minutes, we're going to just build up till we get to white. And it's just dabbing little random brush strokes. Down here, we're going to get a little bit of white. And I am at a loss as for stepping back. When I'm painting, I'm usually stepping back a lot, so I'm sometimes going to take it off and just set it over there so I can kind of see what it looks like a little bit better. I really don't want it to look like the big hunchback there. Sometimes the little bit of pure white on there, a little thick this time, and just random, hardly touching these little kind of strokes. Look at how natural that, just look at the bottom, those little strokes. It was just not really thought out, just a dryish brush and just kind of playing around and letting the paint hit, not holding the brush tight. Notice I'm always holding it back and I've got a loose grip. I want to be loose, and that helps with that. All right, so I want to get a little bit of white in here and there just to soften that. I have to really see that. And I want to get this really more irregular, so I'm just going to like take a heavy white now on my brush and just kind of dab it on. I just want to get away from that little shape that I had going. I'm going to bring it up a little more here. So that's helping it to be less like the little molehill there. I'm letting some of that white start being stronger white highlights. And it's just a little bit of white heavy on my brush. Look, I can almost like not even look at it. I'm just dabbing it a little bit. It's blending with the wet paint underneath, making it softer. And in some places where it's dry, I can get my heavier highlights. You can see by painting it upside down, just dabbing the brush, I'm not really worried about where it's going. I'm going to keep stepping back and just having it look like spray. Yes, exactly, Diane. Little white caps. And you can even do those like back here. I didn't want to take away too much from my wave here, but if you have a little bit of wet, heavier paint on your brush here and you kind of go back here, you can get some little white caps easily back there too, or wherever. And I like the texture of this one. I've got a dry brush, kind of a stiff, it's a hog bristle brush. And if I drag along the canvas, you get that texture of the canvas, which is really kind of cool. I'm going to get a little heavier. This spray on the top of this wave is going to be brighter. I'm using a lighter touch so it doesn't blend if it's wet underneath. A little bit of the strokes just to give it that direction. Overlapping on that shadow a little so that it's not, again, that just perfect little line. This is kind of, this little bit of the white cap is coming, the wave is turning there. And I can come in here and throw some shadows still, even if I want to get darker. I could come in after it's dry and put a little wash in of a darker shade. If that little end of the curl is coming up, I might want it a little darker there. I want it to come down here. And I just like the way it's just where it, again, it's a tiny bit damp underneath. I'm getting a little bit lighter shade. I've got a little teal color in there. I do want other colors in there. I might go right in and get some of that little bit of this color, this green blue here. I might want that showing through a little bit in places. Again, the way I spread color here and there in different spots. Get a nice teal here. Let me see if I can get a nicer teal. I like to put some teal in sometimes. My brush is a little muddied, so I'm not getting as pure a color as I'd like there. But that's okay. And I'm going to clean that brush off now and get some clean white and try to get a little more clean white. Let me look at it in the mirror. Kind of coming along. It's looking like a little bit of a hair, a little bit of like a hairdo there. So sometimes I have to really get in there and just mess it up a little bit so it's not so perfect. I could get some heavier bits where I want to just have that come off there. A little bit, we took a little highlight across the back of this bit, but let's kind of get it a little bit in there, here and there now, and a couple little strokes coming down. I can see there's still a lot of gray there, and I know it's like a slow process getting it back up to bright, but I do love all the little, I think it's important to have all of the little shades and not just going from that light to the dark. This needs to be a little more of a little bit of a spray there. You know how those waves are, they're splashing all over the place. And to be careful not to do it all the same. Like if I'm doing these little strokes, I don't want to do it everywhere. I want to leave little pockets of the gray or the green showing through. And let's take and spray that a little bit. Let me get some clean water. So with your, if you have an old toothbrush or an old fan brush or even a brush that's old and stiff, you can spatter. And this is great for stars in the sky, snow in the sky. I use it on my waves a lot. You just thin down the paint a little bit. Actually, the spray goes everywhere. I'm going to shut my computer and maybe put this in front of my little paintings so they don't get sprayed. And I'm going to concentrate it on the wave. I don't want it too much. I already have some up there. I don't know how. But I'm going to try to keep it, position it where I want it. When you're doing a sky for snow or stars, you can just let that spray go every which way. But let's get a little bit here. Right? And I'm going to put this up close for you in a second. So I'm almost just spraying it like the spray is just coming off the wave there. Sometimes if it's a little waterier, you can get like, I like it when I get those, not the little drips so much as those little lines. Sometimes it just looks like a wave would be breaking. And I would do this around the whole, on the wave part. Let's get a little bit down here. Then I'm going to, like I said, I'll bring it up close to you. And I also go in with a little round stylus or the brush and just make some little dots too. So you can see real close the little spray there, which is kind of cool. Hi, Brenda. Brenda, I missed you. It was such a fun day, and I feel awful that you injured your wrist. Brenda was up in Maine painting for the plein air thing and had a spill and had a wrist injury, and I feel bad because it was going to be so fun to get together. But there's another one in September, so we're going to do that one, which would be cool. So I'm taking a wet brush. If I want some that wouldn't be spraying way up past the clouds, you can remove those. I want to get a little brush. Sometimes when the water's coming up, you find these little, it's just like the little bits of the water coming up on the sand even or close to the shore. I'm going to just water down some white paint, and I can come in here and just do some of these little lines. I'll do them upside down so you can see it right side up for a minute. And it's just, you know, you find just these little they're just like little lines I'm putting there. And when did I say I want to put some more of those? Where are we getting on time, actually? Oh, we got 4 minutes, guys. Talk about the nick of time. So you could do little studies like this of waves just for practice in a little mixed media notebook or something, or on this tiny canvases. I don't know if you saw them from before, if anyone's just popping in. Or it could just be really a painting. It could be a complete painting. I'm going to put a little more white in my clouds, but I just want to get a little bit of this. It's almost like calligraphy. It's almost like a little brushwork, which is just sort of decorative, and you can get that little sprays in there. You could get little dots. Sometimes I will just take and do some dots because they'll be a little bit more irregular shaped. Texture, it gives you some texture. And if I can have, if this was perfectly dry, I would go in with some that is just solid, pure white, just here and there, not everywhere. But let's get a little bit of more, a little bit of white in our clouds. So we did the clouds. I just put them in very lightly when the blue sky was wet and there was just a vague little white area where the clouds are. Then I went in when it was a tacky, put a little heavier in. Now they're dry, so I can take a little bit of white just on the corner of my brush, and I feel like my brush is gonna be in your way there. And I could just, mostly across the tippy tops I do this, getting them a little brighter, and you could just even, you know, make one that's kind of a little bit in front. And that was when, if I wanted a little bit of gold, and generally I want not really my yellow and white, it's too cold, but if I want to use like a yellow ochre, deep ochre, just for the tiniest touch with my white to get it to be a nice gold color. And that's a great color for sand too, with a little white or ivory mixed in. This is just like a Deco Art deep ochre color. It's tiniest touch with your white. You want just a hint, sometimes just a hint of gold. And again, you have to try it. I put a little bit in, didn't really, it looked white still. Barely scumbling it in. Sometimes I do that with the purple underneath to make it more stormy, which I did a little Payne's Gray earlier. But you can see here now, how it's just got a little gold in the clouds. It's just like a little sunshine there. So that's our little demo for today, you guys. I think I would play with this a little more. I would get I've got my shadows back in because I do keep losing them. I want it dark underneath here, you know. So I might play around with it. But what do you think? Is it look like a wave to you? Because I'm too close to it. Oh, hey, Deb. Hey, guys. Sherry. Thank you guys all for watching. Oh, let me do this so you can at least see a little bit of it right side up. Oh, Deb, we had rain here the other day, and honestly, I felt like it was kind of nice to feel some moisture. It was getting so dry down there. So guys, if you would give me a follow, I would love that. And like I said, follow Craft Around the Clock. We have the description. In the description, there's a link, and also to my community over on Mighty Networks, which I'd love to see you on. So I really appreciate you guys being here. I missed you. I'm glad to be back. I'll be back on Friday, you guys. We have Trash to Treasure Day. And stay around for the next crafter. Just refresh your page, and you've got somebody else coming any minute. So, sorry. Bye, guys.